Hello there, we're talking about the heart-kidney axis today, and I'm really excited to be sharing this with you. There are several reasons why understanding the heart-kidney axis is quite an important thing to have in your emotional and mental and well-being toolkit. The first of which is it's a foundational balance that keeps us in life. The heart represents in Chinese medicine our purpose, the thing that lights us up, the thing that we are here for in this life. This is said to be housed in the heart in Chinese medicine, the Shen. And so having a heart that's in control and that is feels clear on how it can on that purpose is important. The kidney represents will. And will basically is what gives us the power and the determination to bring our purpose to life and to see it through. So as you can imagine, having these two things working together for the same goal is really important. And the heart-kidney axis can get really pretty easily knocked off of its axis. Trauma, prolonged stress, those kinds of things can really wobble us actually. And what happens is that fear that comes from long-term stress, where we are using a lot of adrenal energy, not sleeping properly, we're pulling on our reserves, that will really start to tax that energy. And when that happens, what we will find that we might start to experience is some restlessness, insomnia perhaps, or disrupted sleep patterns, a bit of a sense of unease, scatteredness. Sometimes, it can even be that we feel like we're getting palpitations or some sort of tightness in our chest. We're not really able to be fully present. There's always a sense of dread or that something is wrong. And so that's really, those are really powerful signs that the heart-kidney axis is not resting well on its axis. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of acupuncture points that you can work with that can help restore that balance and really nourish both of those things to restore the balance between the two. Because what happens is that essentially fear, water, starts to dominate. And when that happens, we begin to make actions and decisions in our lives that are driven from a place of fear rather than from a place of our true purpose. And that's not a good place to make a decision from, because fear has a way of really blinkering us to all that we can, the only thing that we can think about is essentially survival, right? So when you're scared, when you're in fear, the purpose of fear is to create a sort of environment which will help you survive. So we get very tunnel visioned and blinkered about where we're going, what we need to do to get there, how to get there. And we can often really lose sight of the bigger picture. So it's really important that we bring ourselves back into the place where the heart, the Shen, the life purpose is leading the show. So we're going to talk about this in as we go through the 2 points. I am going to suggest that you can work on this with either acupressure. Now, when we work with acupressure, you're using a firm pressure with your fingertip, and you can either just press quite firmly on a point, or you can press quite firmly. If I demonstrate here, for example, on this point, large intestine 4, you can press down and you can make tiny little circles into the point to apply the pressure. This is not a massage, so it's not big circles. You want to really focus your attention and your intention on connecting with that point powerfully and physically. You can also work with oils, which is a really gentle way of connecting with the energy of the point. When you do that, what you have is the energetic resonance of the oil itself connecting to the energetic potential and power of the acupuncture point that you're connecting to. So that's a really lovely thing to do. I'm going to talk you through some oils that are potentially useful for both of the points, and we can talk about dilutions. You should never use undiluted essential oil directly on the body, and you should certainly never use undiluted essential oil directly on an acupuncture point. But we can use a slightly higher dilution when we're doing aroma point therapy, which is applying oil to a point. We can use a slightly higher dilution of oil if we're doing that than we would traditionally use for massage. So let's start with the first point, and the first point is kidney 6. Now, kidney 6 is on the ankle, it's on the inner ankle, and if you locate the tip of your inner ankle bone, your inner malleolus, and drop your finger directly down to just under it, your finger will fall into a dip. And in that dip, you will make sure your foot is flexed, actually. So if your foot's bent down, it's harder to find. But if your foot is flexed as if you were standing on it, and then you locate the malleolus and drop your finger down, you'll find that the space very easily. So kidney 6 is a really powerful point on the kidney meridian for balancing everything, really. I was taught the name of it as illuminated sea. It's also called shining sea. I'm just going to invite you to connect with that point now, however you're going to do it. If you're going to use an oil, I really love on this point either cypress, Atlas cedarwood, black spruce, or vetiver. All of these oils are really powerful for use on the kidney meridian and for the water element. So you can use any of those oils. I would use a 25% dilution. You might use a little bit of less of a dilution with vetiver. It's quite a strong oil. You might want to go to 15%. I am going to use vetiver myself right now. So if you'd like to connect with that oil, with that point, or with your finger, if you're using oils, you just hold, you put a drop of oil on your finger and you just hold the oil on the point very, very lightly. The oil will do the work. You don't need to do anything. And you're going to hold the oil on the point for 2 to 3 minutes. You'll feel when it's done, but that's when I would use it. I can feel that oil really working right now. So, however you're connecting with that point, I invite you to close your eyes. And we're going to consider water. Now, water, consider yourself right now. It's a cold, inky black and starless night, and you are at the edge of the illuminated sea, or the sea. It is dark. You can't see anything. If you were to look down at your body, you wouldn't know where you ended and the air began, because the dark is so all-enveloping. Now you can hear the ocean, and you know that it's teeming with life. There is movement. There are all manner of forms in the ocean, but you can't see anything. All you can feel is that power and that vastness. And you're connected to it because you can't differentiate yourself from the world around you. And just spend a moment there, feeling all the power of that yin. And we're anchoring ourselves into that power when we connect with kidney 6. And we're grounding ourselves with this point. Connecting with all of the potential that's teeming beneath the surface of ourselves. All of that power that we can't see. And then I invite you to connect with the heart, which represents fire. And we're going to go to the heart source point. So the heart source point is on the wrist, on the inner wrist. And it's just, if you come down from the little finger, there is a tiny little bone here called the pisiform. And the source point, heart 7, Shen Men, is just over there. And again, you can either use acupressure on this point, or you can use an oil. Oils that are really useful are anything that's going to feel that it's going to... basically, a bit of sweetness will really help this point. You might think about euphoric, so things like jasmine or neroli can be really useful. You might also think about something like geranium or rose. Those are all beautiful, beautiful oils to work with on this point. If you're only working on, I'll talk about that at the end. Let's connect with a point. So if you connected with one ankle, connect with the opposite wrist. And find that point. And if you're using acupressure, start to exert some quite firm pressure on that point. If you are working with an oil, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either just work on one side, or you can place the oil on the point and connect those wrists lightly together. And that's quite a nice way of reaching that point. Similarly, if you're working with kidney 6, you can actually place your feet together if you're sitting cross-legged and work with both of those points at the same time. Connecting with your fingers, not your ankles, that would be really quite hard. Okay, so you have connected to the inky, dark, vast blackness where there is no form. And now what we're doing is we are bringing light in. Fire, the fire element, the heart, is warmth and light. And what this warmth and this light does is it shows us what's there. So we can begin to differentiate between what is us and what is not us. We can see what there is around us. And we can identify the forms that are ours and that aren't, if that makes sense. So we begin to remind ourselves that we are, although we are part of everything, we are separate, and our consciousness is reconnected to our purpose. So anything that is frozen will flow again. Anything that is a torrent, if you're living in a state of fear which is creating a sense of panic, will be calmed. You know, the water levels will drop if they have been rising to the point of overwhelm. And we reconnect into our purpose. And we re-establish that balance, which tells the kidneys that we've got this. And we give the heart the replenishment, the nourishment, the reserves that it needs to take control back. So that we once again lead from the heart, from a place of consciousness, from a place of deep inner knowing, from a place of light, rather than from a place of fear and darkness. if you're working with some of these euphoric oils, they can be quite strong. I would dilute those traditionally to about 10 to 15%. Find the oils that you like and that resonate with you. They will be more powerful to work with because there's something in there that's going to work for you. And you can do this every day until you feel better. You can do this, you can undertake to do a practice with this before you do a yoga practice or a meditation. It's a really powerful way of even adding more to the sort of act of self-care. Yeah. And you can do this with other people, of course. So I hope you found this useful. And please let me know if you work with this, how you find it. And if you have any questions, please do also send them my way. Thank you.